Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Thiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for being with us every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 1 p.m. Central Time as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. I take this guy along with me as well. You can find us on the radio at IC Radio, where we are Fox News affiliates. You can also find us on television, Channel 182, Charter Communications, and Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. You can always send an email, and I treasure your emails. Thank you so much for sending those along. Any ideas, a little research you would like from me? I'm still the geek from school.
Yeah.
Quietest in who, he couldn't believe it. Quietest in who's who. And I'm still that person. So you can send those things along, and I'll be glad to do some research for you. And they'll let both of us out. I get to learn something new, and then I get to help you out as well. I have a very good friend with me right now. His name is Phillip, Gilliland, and he is with American Fellowship of Cowboy Churches, where we are live with Bobby Ledbetter of Twin City Used Car Sales, located in Gadsden, Alabama.
Yep. Yep. It's a great place. A lot of activity. He's a good guy to do business with and a great sponsor. My wife's still driving the car she got from him a couple of years ago, and he's one of the good guys. He is one of the good guys.
He is, and my Philip is also still driving a vehicle he bought from Bobby, I guess about 8 years ago, and so he's about to trade it in. He wants a pickup truck.
Well, I don't blame him. That's good. That's good. And there's some here. I see him out on the lot.
Oh, he's got a lot to choose from. So absolutely, trucks, cars, SUVs, whatever you're looking for. And by the way, if he doesn't have it here, he will look for it.
Oh yeah, and he can find things that nobody else can find. I can promise you.
Whether you're looking for mileage, if it's a particular mileage you're looking for, or a particular vehicle. Now, I thought for years Phil was a Ford guy,
Yeah.
because he had a Ford. I forgot what the name or model of it was, but it was a Ford truck. He had this truck for like 12 years and years ago. And I said, we could have like bummed out on the newlywed game, because
Yeah.
had I been asked, is he Ford or Chevy, I would have said Ford.
Sure.
He
Oh,
said,
that's
no,
what it
I'm a
was.
Chevy man. And I
Yeah.
said, are you kidding me? Well, then why were you driving a Ford all these years?
Yeah.
So those are all choices that we make in life.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just don't know, about the other person, even if we live with them. And I know you go through that pastoring churches.
Oh yes, everybody's different, unique, and there's and I work with about 30 something churches in different fashions, and you got a lot of personalities and a lot of preferences, and you have to find some common ground. And when you find the common ground, then you have something to work with. So
You've got common ground basically with anybody,
yes, that's right.
even me.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Because we've been doing this for a while now.
Absolutely. Philip has been moved through so many changes in my life, And so I was renting space for the Scottsboro station, and so this is during the COVID years, and so I was a little nervous, and the owner of the station was really nervous about me being there because I have asthma, and so that was a decision that had to be made, and I've just included you, and Phil has too, on
Yes.
everything that we've done.
And I appreciate it. I place a high value on that. And we've talked about it personally, but there's people that you're just closer to. You can't help it. I don't care who you are. You have these circles of people, and that closer circle is people that have an impact on your life, and you put a value on that, and I'm thankful for it. There's a lot of people that have really helped me, and I want to try to help people too. If I didn't, I'd be doing something other than what I'm doing. But I've been blessed to get to do this for a long time now. I was thinking about it earlier. I had my vehicle service this morning, and somebody asked me, and I looked back and thought, man, this started in 2009, and time will get away from you. That was two little boys ago, when we first started. My wife now, and she and I just got married, and we had one little boy, and then pretty soon we started that church in Woodville, and in the same year I started with the American Fellowship of Cowboy Churches, just by God appointed time. And here's the thing, and I think this is important because, and I'll tell you why, if I can say this. you know, there's no accidental uh, way for people's paths to cross. They're all divine appointments, and those appointments are usually ordained out of eternity. And when you cross paths with somebody, it has some kind of spiritual reason. So at this point in time in my life, and I'm praying and counseling and trying to help some people and I leave here and go to see one of the sweetest ladies in the world, and she and I have been friends since junior high school, and she has dementia, and it's pretty bad, but. I was there a couple of weeks ago, and she didn't know anybody else, but she knew me, and it was a precious time for us to sit and talk a little bit, and she could remedy it. And the sweetest part of it is she thought I had come to tell her that something was happening with my health. And bless her heart, she doesn't know any of the other people we went. She had one of my close friends, and still, he was her high school sweetheart. I mentioned his name. She didn't know who I was talking about. Her best friend is another lady that I crossed paths with again, and now I'm taking care of her pretty much. Her health. She doesn't have anybody close by, and so I kind of take care of her. And now she was my high school sweetheart. So it amazes me how these things come back around, and I didn't see these ladies in 40 something years until maybe it was a class reunion. And well, this one lady, her mother passed away, and she reached out to me to see if I would do her mother's funeral. I said, well, sure. And I hadn't seen her in 40 something years, and then we ended up all back at the 50th class reunion together, sitting together, and from that we rekindled all just the friendships that we had made, and now that's a very active part of my, not only my life but my ministry, because that's what I do. And then another lady that I love dearly, and I've known her for 50 plus years. She reached out to me about 2 weeks ago to let me know she had cancer, and her ex-husband had worked for me at one time, but she was a precious lady. So I've got really four or five. Well, it's five of them altogether. Two has cancer, and one has dementia, and the other two have different other things. And so, but those, you're just because your paths cross once, don't mean they won't come back and cross again. Like right now, later in life, and it's just an opportunity to do ministry and to be a part of a tough time with them, and I can tell you, it's been, some of that has been a bit of a struggle because it weighs on your heart. And uh, if you don't think pastors go through a lot, you just need to try it for a little while. I mean,
I don't want to try it. I'll let you handle that part.
it is, nobody would wake up one day and say, "Boy, that looks easy. I believe I'll go do that." You'd try anything, and most of us have tried everything to keep
To
from
get
doing
at
it.
it.
Yeah, that's right. But it's not as bad as it seems. It amazes me how these things, and then you create a new circle, and all of these have to do with whatever season our life is
Hmm.
in, and those seasons change. I don't believe our time is measured in years, because uh, Almighty God lives in a world of eternity, and the Bible tells us that time doesn't mean anything to Him. A year's like 1,000 days, and 1,000 days is like one day. It doesn't matter to Him. So, but in our world, we measure everything by time.
Around the
And
sun.
that's right. That's right. So, but him, it's whatever season we're in, and we're in this season right now in my life connecting with people that we knew before that may be going through hard times. And of course, there's always that in our church family. There's always opportunities to minister to people. And sometimes, and my favorite thing is when I have an opportunity to be an encouragement to some young person, and that's a really good thing. And in our church, it's really neat. My favorite night is Wednesday night, like tonight. We have this great thing with all our young people and kids in this large group, and so you get a chance to interact with all of those, and and we've led a lot of those but kids to the Lord. In fact, we've had 20. We'll by the time we get through next Sunday, I think we'll have about 21 that we baptized here in the last month, and it comes from our youth program and all these amazing ladies that come on Wednesday night that cook and feed them and teach them and through the camps and the VBS and things that we do for young people. It's how we've not only reached those young folks, but we baptized 3 adults in the process of that. So it amazes me what and churches go through seasons and families go through everything is measured out by whatever season we're in. But for me, it's making the most of this season that I'm in, and trying to be an encouragement to people and people, especially those that we care deeply about that are going through a really hard time. And I haven't quite got that down pat. I can tell you, I have my moments. I mean, it is hard to
Well, I think
see.
you've been fantastic with fooling me.
It is hard. It is really hard when you see people you really care about going through really difficult times, and uh, I don't have that figured out. I can tell you, I have my moments when I just have to go off to the barn and hang out for a while and try to get it all back together. But
Well, I want you to tell us what you do because he's always there for us, okay? We just sometimes take it for granted. I think that and you do, you got, I mean, you're not made of steel. I mean,
no,
most
no.
pastors are, believe me, they're made of steel who can put up with congregations like us. So, what can we do to make life a little bit easier on you?
Well, and I coach preachers. I mean, that's one of my job with is kind of to coach preachers and encourage them. So one of the things that we tell all our pastors is you need to take a month off every year. It's so much better if you could take 4 weeks at a time.
In business, they tell you to do that.
Yes, yes. And if you look back at countries like Europe, they have been practicing that for
They
years.
call it a
So
holiday.
they call it the holiday, and they'll take a month. And I'm thinking, my good, I used to, of course, I worked with a big international company for 35 years, and it was great. And when I would hear those folks talk about that we'll all be on holiday then, we can't do it then. We'll all be on holiday, and I'm thinking, how do you, how long are y'all on? We take a month off. Well, it just works out that is the very time that we recommend, and I've done it myself. I try to practice it myself. In fact, uh, 2 years ago in October coming up, I took 5 weeks off at one time, and I needed it. And back in the spring of this year, I took 3 weeks off at one time. Now, not everybody is as blessed as I am because we have people in our church that can fill in and great guys that can fill the pulpit, and we even go and help other preachers who don't have that in churches that don't have somebody. We will go and sometimes I'll go and let one of my guys preach in my place. Sometimes I'll send one of my guys to because they don't always want to hear me. They sometimes they need to
Yes,
hear
we do.
sometimes they need to hear
We
somebody
all like the
else.
other guys too.
But it is important because I was recently reading something that said the only thing that rivals the American soldier for struggling with PTSD is a pastor. and I'd never thought of it like that before. And that was just a few weeks ago when I read that, and I thought, that's probably right because during COVID, there was three different times that I stood in an ICU unit with a family and watched their loved one count down to their heart just stopped.
And that was
Uh,
several different ages too. You're looking at
yeah, there
young
was
people and older people. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, Faith, the sweet, and I was talking about her yesterday. Sweet, sweet young lady that I just love dearly. That she was 31, 31.
She worked with animals, didn't she?
Yeah, she
Okay,
did.
she's the one who actually trained my dog, Buddy.
Yeah, she loved animals all her life, and she took riding lessons from my daughter-in-law back when she was young, and she's just amazing young. And her dad, who was and mother, friends of mine, I ended up doing her. They didn't come to our church, but I did her funeral, and they're amazing people. He's a pastor. She's a pastor's wife, and Faith was a pastor's kid, and she has a brother named Daniel that's doing really good. And but that was a hard one. I mean, that was, and I somebody asked me about this yesterday, and I was in a church up in Tennessee yesterday, and uh, somebody asked me about something, and it brought on this talk about that, and I said, well, it's hard for me doing funerals for my friends, and man, there's nothing tougher than either doing somebody's child's funeral
The
or
toughest.
or doing some. I did a funeral for two twin 9-year-old girls' mother back in the COVID time, and looking at those twin girls, it got me. Now, what I was telling them was, the Lord has always helped me get through it, but boy, when I get to my truck, that's when it hits me, and I know where my strength came from because I could always get to my truck, and and it was the same way when I did Terry's funeral. Your brother-in-law and I had known each other so long and gone up and down the road together, uh, roping and doing cowboy church. He even got involved in helping plant cowboy churches with me, and
That was
we
amazing.
yeah, but he was such a help. Everybody knew him because he was really an accomplished uh, guy at
You
the.
saw the trophies he
Oh
had.
yeah,
There
yeah.
were trophies. They had to actually, I mean, it's like every room of their house.
It was, and I
Okay.
helped. I helped his late wife get rid of those, and uh, she gave a lot of things to kids. She gave a lot of belt buckles to kids and trophy jackets, and then we helped her sell the saddles, and because she needed that income, she needed some things, but uh, yeah, he was great, and it was the same way. I made it through it all, and it was a huge funeral. I think somebody told me there was 500 people
I would not doubt it. See,
there, because
definitely new
everybody
people all
knew
over
him.
the
Yeah,
place.
and they came. I mean, people I know. Today's Kenny Ellison's birthday. Kenny and his wife lived down at below Calera, and they came, and people further away than that came, and uh, people that he just. And one of the last things we went to was a roping together. We went after church one Sunday afternoon and roped down at Kenny's and had a great time. And so now I can look back. Now that I've kind of gotten over all that. That's probably I think that's been probably 9 or 10 years
Oh,
ago.
wow.
It's been a while, and but it was a struggle to do that, and I'm just thankful the Lord will help me. But because I told somebody asked me, said, "Well, what if you had to do this or that?" And I said, if I have 2 or 3 days to prepare for it, I usually I'll be okay. But if I just go do something really difficult like that, it'll get to my heart, and I just can't help it because in general, I just am I love people in general. I just I love people, and especially
Harry's dad was an unusual guy,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I loved him as a as a father-in-law. He was amazing. He would not go out to eat. He
yeah,
just would not. And so I was about to have Brad in about 2 months, and so he takes me to the doctor, which was another unusual thing.
yeah,
You would have thought I was carrying the royal child.
yeah,
So anyway, he said, "Are you hungry?" Of course, when you're pregnant, you're always
yeah,
hungry.
yeah,
I said, "I'm so starved to death. I could eat anything right now." And he said, "You want to stop by McDonald's?" And I was a little shocked. And he said, "No, I won't eat anything that has mayonnaise in it."
yeah,
And I said, "All you have to do is tell them you don't want mayonnaise,
yeah,
and they won't put it on there." He said, "You sure?" He
yeah,
said, "Because I can see if there's a trace of mayonnaise on it." So anyway, we eat. We had a good time eating at McDonald's that day.
yeah,
And so Duane, his
yeah,
daughter,
yeah,
called me and said, this is back before cell phones and all that. And she said, "I just heard a story and I can't believe it."
yeah,
And I said, "What?" She said, "How did you get Dad to go out to eat?"
yeah,
I said, I don't know. He just asked me if I was hungry, and I said, "I'm starved to death." And
yeah,
so he just did. Sometimes people would do things you just take for granted.
yeah,
They wouldn't do that.
yeah, yeah, and that's good. But that
But me
probably
and
is
him
a
were buddies.
that was a good thing. And he was one of those guys that grew up in that Depression era. So, you know, my folks kind of they my dad and mom were young, but they were born when it happened, but they were little, but they never got over it either. Those people would always made sure that they had huge gardens and lots of uh, freezer full of meat. I mean, when
Well,
my
you didn't go hungry when you
no,
went to his
they
house.
got ready for. They was prepared for that again. And you know, I say that because people my age now we say to each other all the time. You know, we may be back to that again if we don't get the right person elected for president. I can promise you, we're going to be back to that again. We're going to be in a
But I
mess.
think the survivors were the ones, and there were some great tactics that Mr. Missouri taught me.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I really good with. But I remember this: they had a pond, and I loved to fish, and so he and I would go fishing a lot.
yeah,
And so you had a sign up there that said "No fishing allowed." And I
yeah,
said, "So are the fish supposed to be quiet?" And
yeah.
he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "You have it spelled no fishing, ALOUD." I
Yeah.
had a good time with him. I thought he was just an amazing guy.
Yeah, he was. And you know, after Terry passed away, we went through the old barn and stuff, and got everything out, and cause Deborah was moving, and I think they've since sold that property, I believe. But it was interesting because there was a one spur in that barn, and I have it. It was a U.S. Cavalry spur,
Oh my goodness.
and it was only one. It wasn't a set, but
What a delight.
I kept that thing. But and I told Deborah I was going to keep it. She said, "Sure, you can have." She didn't care, but to me, to have a U.S.
That's
Cavalry spur,
amazing.
yeah, and I collect spur. I'm kind of a spur collector anyway, so uh, I brought that thing home, and I've done a couple of sermons from it because they really didn't have a rowel in them or anything. They were just a little stud piece of brass.
Well, how did it? I mean, how did it work?
Well, it is just like the size of a pencil, and it was about that long. It was made like a spur, but it didn't have anything, and it was just that encouragement you give a horse with that
A little
little.
encouragement, like we all need
Yeah, yeah.
in your
Well,
church.
that's right. Everybody needs encouragement, and that's when I preach about spurs or
You
something. I
just keep
say
leading me to the good ones.
they're instruments of encouragement. They are instruments of encouragement, and that's why in Hebrews, the writer of Hebrews said, "Spur one another on." Encourage that's in the
I'm that
Bible.
kind of gal.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to go to a commercial break.
Okay.
We are live, and we are at Twin City Used Car Sales. Bobby Ledbetter's Twin City Used Car Sales in Gadsden, Alabama. He doesn't seem to be without customers.
Oh my goodness, this place is hopping.
Definitely all over the place. If you're looking for a car, truck, or an SUV, you've got to come down here and check it out. Go to the website, go to bobbyledbetter.com. They even have cars and trucks and SUVs listed on the website. So if you have questions, you can always send an email. And so I promise you, someone will get right back to you. You won't have to wait on that. Let's go to a break. We'll be right back in just a minute. Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. Jeff McCurdy of the McCurdy Law Firm has been a public service of this area for over 10 years. McCurdy, a member of the Henniger City Council, serves as prosecutor for the town of Sylvania and was named public defender for the city of Rainsville. The McCurdy Law Firm is located at 17326 Alabama Highway 75 in Henniger to better represent his Jackson and DeKalb County clients. If you need to be represented by a true public servant with proven success, call Jeff at 256-996-8701 or send a private email to mccurdylawfirm@gmail.com. No representation is made that the legal services performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer
yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Good afternoon. We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for finding us actually every day on all social media sites, by the way. I didn't even mention that. Couldn't get away from us. We tried.
Yeah, that's right.
I have Phillip Gilliland with me right now. He is with the American Fellowship of Cowboy Churches. Somebody's got a good truck going out there right now. You know, as a matter of fact, you know, Phil wants a truck.
Yeah.
And so the car that he bought like years ago, I don't even remember when it was, he almost didn't buy it. And the reason he almost didn't buy it was the color. Because I had to make a remark. I said, "Oh, honey, I didn't know you were an Auburn fan like I am." So he's a huge Alabama fan. And this car, this vehicle, and I'm talking, is Auburn blue.
Yeah.
It really is. So he said, "I'm not buying that one." I said, "We'll paint it with my fingernail polish red."
Yeah.
So you can find whatever you're looking for out here, and at an awesome price. Oh, and by the way, you know, a lot of folks got credit challenged due to, you know, when we had COVID.
Yeah.
A lot of folks lost their jobs and, you know, working short time and that kind of thing. So if you are credit challenged, they can help you out with that too. And so if you want a vehicle, you'll leave with one.
Yes.
So make sure you check that out as well. BobbyLandBetter.com. You can see them run on the main drag, and you'll see this big yellow. There's a van out there that says Twin City. You'll know you're in the right place.
Oh yeah, you can see it from Megan. Yeah, from Megan Boulevard or Highway 431 going through Gadsden, you can see it plainly.
Yeah, we have a lot of new viewers
Oh yeah.
who don't know what the Cowboy Church is.
Well, and we go through this, and in fact, we've got a clinic coming up in the first weekend in October at Circle C Cowboy Church in Morristown, Tennessee. We just did one at the Cowboy Church of Ellis County in Waxahachie, Texas, and so that's kind of fresh on my mind. I went out there and was able to help with that, and it was fun. Those things always are fun because we have chuck wagons there, and we go through and we teach people about this model of church, and everywhere I go, people, especially people that don't know or never been to a cowboy church, they say, what is a cowboy church? Well, and you know, the short version of that is a cowboy church is a church where we try to take away the barriers. We don't function and vote on a lot of things. We do things by consensus and teams. We don't really have any committees. We have teams, and that team functions by a consensus. So we don't vote on a lot of things, and we do things a little differently. We don't pass an offering plate. We don't usually have pianos, and we try not. We try to be different. We try not to have carpeted floors. We try to be where anybody can come and feel comfortable, because there may be somebody comes out of a stinky chicken house and don't have time to shower before they come to church, or they come out of the woods. They've been hunting this early on Sunday morning, and we've had guys to come in there with blood on their boots, and we have a concrete floor. So plus, the other day when we baptized about 14 kids and there's water all over the place, it didn't matter.
Not to worry about it.
Nothing, you didn't have to worry about it. So taking away the barriers, and we are looking for unchurched people. We're not trying to steal people from other churches. We're the church for the unchurched, the church for people that really don't like churches, because it you know, during it doesn't bother me if during the sermon somebody gets up and goes to the coffee pot and pours them a cup of coffee. That doesn't bother us.
And if you have asthma, you can cough at any time. That
Yeah,
doesn't seem to
it
bother
doesn't.
anybody.
It doesn't. I mean, people are. It's not a dead quiet atmosphere, you know,
It's active. There's
yeah,
activity.
there's always activity going on, and I think that's what relaxes people, and people come to Cowboy Church that are, you know, later in their life. I always like to refer to Larry Gant was 70 years old, and he's in heaven today, but we baptized him at 70 years old. He went, and he was a good guy. Everybody loved him, but Larry just wasn't a church going man, and and he ended up becoming an elder and was a great elder. But he came 6 years straight without missing a Sunday. And the Sunday he missed, he was in the hospital, and I went to see him that day, and he wept because he couldn't go to church. But he's in heaven now, and uh, that's why we do Cowboy Church. I tell people all the time, you hear about these guys that had a hard road with drugs or alcohol, or some lady that didn't have a real good reputation, and we say send them to us. Because we're going to treat them like Jesus treated folks like that. We're going to love them, and try to show His love to them. And we're trying not to be judgmental, because like I said to one of mine and your dear friends one time, I just quoted him the words that Jesus said, "Let the one without sin cast the first stone." I mean, we've all got a spotted past, so we were born in the nature of sin, because of Adam's and Eve's fall in the garden. It fell on all humanity, so we all need a savior, and that savior is Jesus. And we just want to share Jesus with people, and uh, we're not big on denominations. We're not big on you know, just you got to believe just like we believe. We don't do we do disciple. We have a lot of active Bible studies, small group Bible studies that that are meant to grow people and help people learn more about the theology side of the Bible, and but mostly we just love people. We want to let people come and and I've had people tell me, "So man, I walk in this place and I feel this awesome sense of love," and that's what any pastor wants to. People can come there and they don't recognize it as a place where you've got to look a certain way, act a certain way, or be a certain way to be there. You just come like you are. And if there's changes need to be made, that's between you and the Lord. It's not up to us to change you. We'll pray with you and we'll help you if you ask for help. But we won't beat you over the head with anything. We'd rather love you through it. And
There have been some questions asked of me because I go to Phillip's church, Cowboy Church, and so folks have, rumors have come out. I've always laughed at the Huntons,
yeah,
at the church they pastor out there, Don and Judy, and so one day I was at their church, and so Don said, "How many people have heard that instead of saying Amen, we shoot a gun?" Well, somebody had asked me that, but several of us raised our hands. I said, "I did," but I mean that's not what they do.
no, we don't do that.
There. And another rumor was that my mother asked this. She said, "Well, I've heard they ride horses in there." And I said, "No, they don't ride horses."
Well, and some people come, and I mean, it's why we have to keep doing Cowboy
But I'd be
Church.
good with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Well,
love horses.
but and we talked about Terry at the end of Terry's funeral. There was a big door, and we opened the door and led his horse, that great
Now,
horse,
that's
De Niro, across in front of the congregation before we closed his casket. We led De Niro and one of them trophy saddles Terry won across in front of everybody, and he stood there while we closed the casket. And
And I
when
would
we
think that horse was very attentive at that
oh,
time.
he was great. I loved that horse, and I was so privileged that Deborah gave him to me to take care of after that. Of course, he was 20 years old when Terry passed away, but I did give him the best care I could give him, and I never competed on him one time. I never did. I carried him one time and let a lady carry the American flag in a rodeo because they didn't have one, and I said, "I got one. I know you can carry the flag on," and it was De Niro. And but I never competed on him a time because that was Terry's horse, and I got tickled, and this is a true story. I left him at home and I loaded a couple of horses on, and I was headed down to the church, which is only 10 minutes from where I live. And we were going down there to ride or rope practice or something. And I loaded the other two horses, and De Niro run down the side of the fence as far as he could go and watched us go out. And when I got home, my wife said, "Don't you ever leave that horse at home again." I said, "Why?" She said, "He was miserable. He was so hurt because you went off." And from that time on, every time I went, I stuck him on the back. He didn't have to do anything. We didn't saddle him, but we brushed him and stuck him on the back of the trailer and carried him. Just
Animals have feelings, and I know with all my heart, animals are here to help support us.
yeah.
Because Buddy, our dog, is the same
Yes,
way. When
yes.
Phil leaves, he's miserable.
Yeah.
And Phil said, "Now, when you leave, he's miserable too." He likes us there together.
Yeah. It's amazing, some of those things, and so I never did. I wouldn't leave him back. I wouldn't leave him again after that. We'd go do that, and I'd stick him on the back of the trailer and just haul him down there and he was good with that. He was fine. He just didn't want to be left out. He it's like he said, "I want to go. I'm used to going. I want to go," and I think there's probably a good sermon in that, and but I those are really great memories, and but Cowboy Church is just different. It's not that we use a different Bible. We don't use some strange version of the Bible. We don't do anything. And some people come and figure out, well, this is just church. And they leave because they were looking for, I guess, a saddle. They wanted it to be a saddle club or something. And when they get there and they say, well, this is really a church. And they may not come back.
People of different nationalities seem to be driven also to the Cowboy Church. There's
I
a lady
noticed
there
that.
from Egypt.
Yeah, and there's a couple of ladies that come to ours, and I can't remember, but I think they're from India or somewhere. Maybe it's Turkey. That this one lady kind of adopted this young lady, and they come and they've been in church with us, and they come to ride night. We do things in the arena during the week, and but we never do anything that we don't share the gospel. We don't read or have a short devotion, or it doesn't matter if it involves the chuck wagons or if it involves the arena or whatever we do. We always share the gospel because that is the mission of the church.
That's what we
Is
should be doing anyway with
Yes,
everything we
yes.
do.
Every church, if they're not doing that, they're not following God's word if you're not sharing the gospel.
And it's in a way that you don't feel intimidated. I've heard a lot of stories about how the kids would go and just help people with the groceries, putting the
Yeah.
groceries in the car, and it could be somebody's got a keg of beer or whatever.
Oh yeah. Well, we've this has been our motto from the get go. If you don't walk around the parking lot on Sunday morning and see some beer cans in the back of somebody's truck, you're not reaching the people that you need to be reaching. Because and I always think about this one church. When my boys were kind of little, and we went to this church, and it's a long way from here, but it was in South Alabama, and I pulled in and parked, and this was a brand new young church, and there wasn't 25 or 30 people coming. I mean, they'd just been going a few weeks, and I looked over in the truck. There was a full case. I parked beside a truck, had a full case of beer in the back of it. I said, "We're reaching the right ones,"
Well,
and
you're
that's
reaching
what.
the right ones all around because I was at Don and Judy's church another time, and they were talking about the kids, teaching the kids, like what to do, if what if electricity goes off,
Yeah.
what if something happens to the economy, whatever. And so Phil and I were sitting there, and so they were talking. So the youth director, the youth leader got up there. They're
Robert
wonderful.
and Selena.
They're
Robert
awesome
and Selena,
folks.
they're
So
great.
they get up there and they said, we're going to teach the kids how to kill chickens, and how to skin chickens, and how to
Yeah,
dress them.
yeah.
And I looked at Phil. These are things I'm always interested in. And I looked at Phil and I said, "Yeah, I'm in the right spot."
Yeah, that's right. And they do. Man, they've got the most fantastic youth group probably of any of our churches. They sent 110 kids to the camp this year, and I mean, it blows me away how the Lord has blessed them with the young people, and what a great job Robert and Selena have done up there. It's just amazing. But I delight in seeing that. It tells us what we all can do. I mean, it shows us we have the opportunity that if you do the right things, that you can, and we learn that just in this Warhorse camp that we done, where we led this 21 kids to the Lord there over the weekend, and it was great. It's just Cowboy Church. If you want to see the Lord move and recognize that it's a spiritual church, and it's not about stained glass windows or carpet or padded pews. It's about people. It's about what church ought to be. It's about the bride of Christ, and that's who the church really is the bride of Christ.
Well, I'm noticing a lot of young people at your church.
Oh yeah, it's like I said, these and I give credit to these ladies that show up every Wednesday night, and there's three different age groups, and they do a lot of things with them, and they cook and feed them, and that's always a great. That's always because some of those, and I can tell you, we've had kids to come to our Wednesday nights that didn't have enough food at home, and we always know that when we have leftovers, who we need to send it to, and that's not being judgmental; it's just being caring. And so we know that we have some families that might not have it so well, and we make sure that leftover food on Wednesday night goes home with them.
That's an amazing thing. You're feeding in two different ways.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It's a blessing to get to do what I get to do, and it's a really growing thing. We're experiencing tremendous growth in new church starts, and we have a lot of churches affiliating that have never affiliated with the American Fellowship of Cowboy Church. And if you want to find out, there is a website for that. It's AmericanFCC.org, and there's a whole host of things you can check out. You can even find a cowboy church near you. All our events, and boy, we're getting into the fall, which October gets really busy. Day of the Cowboy over at No Fences is the third weekend in October. The first weekend we're in Morristown at that clinic, and then we have a fall fellowship at Cedar Creek Cowboy Church. It's all that's on the website, and there's several other things that go on, all the way down to the WRCA finals in Amarillo, and my youngest Jacob and I'll be there. It's the third weekend this year, I believe. And no, it's like the 14th through the 17th of November. And here in between there, we'll do a wedding and we'll do some other things, and it'll be busy, but it'll be good.
Absolutely. You know, there are cowboy churches all over the place.
Yes.
So they're all over the United States.
Yes, and it continues to grow, and we've got some interest out of the country, and we're working on that. But
I was about to ask.
yeah, we've had some calls from Europe and South America, and so we hadn't quite got there yet, but it is a work in progress, and you know what we are, what we function. We actually got, there's about I think 7 of us staff members, maybe 8, but we serve the churches. That's what we do. There's a board of directors, which is a great group of people that we answer to as staff, and so we believe in accountability. We all have accountability partners, and so I think that's what has helped us too. The way we function by consensus and teams, and teams are such a big thing. And that's the greatest challenge to teach a church is how to function as a team. But it's also where the great rewards come in. And you've seen how it works with chuck wagon teams, and you see those guys show up and
I'll
cook.
never forget that ribbon cutting.
Yeah.
So this is a ribbon cutting at a station I was renting space from for the show. And so I mentioned to you that we were going to have a ribbon cutting, and you said, well, we want to come, we want to help.
Yeah.
And so, and I heard the chuck wagon was going to be there. And so the lady from the Chamber of Commerce, awesome lady, told Phil, she said, I know my husband Phil, she said, I know how ambitious Donna is, and she thinks she's going to have a lot of people there. She's going to do good to have 10 people there.
Yeah.
Was it 400?
Yeah.
400.
When they lost count of them, but when they quit counting, maybe. But
actually, the little dinger, we had an alarm system, and it would count the number of people
that went in
and so it was over 400. I'm pretty sure, because a lot of people didn't come in.
Yes, that's right. And the chuck wagon is such a bright spot. I mean, those guys, that group of guys. In Texas, it was 100 degrees, and we did that clinic out there, and they cooked. They stood out there and cooked in it just like it.
Well, even right here in the Gadsden Mall, you guys came out.
Yeah.
That was a hot day.
And the one in Center, I think you missed the one in Center, but it was a hot day too. And they cooked all night Friday night, and we served food all day the next day.
That's another way. Connections, okay?
Yes.
Because Bobby Ledbetter with Twin City used car sales. It was COVID era, and
people were without food.
So it started in Fort Payne,
right?
And then I found out about it, and he said, "Well, Miss Donna, can we do it somewhere else?" And I said, "How about Scottsboro?"
Yeah.
So went to, you guys were there.
Yeah.
Went to the Scottsboro, and it was just a team of people. I mean, it was like an army of people, and everybody knew what to do.
We went to.
And don't ask what can I do because I promise you they'll give you
Oh
plenty
yeah,
to do.
we went to I think 5 counties. I know we went to Etowah, Cherokee, DeKalb, Jackson, and Marshall County. We went to 5 counties, and that between that and the following year in December at Rainsville, we had fed somewhere above 40,000 people in
That
that
was
project.
that
But we
was
couldn't
something.
have done it without the help of guys like Bobby Ledbetter, who put a lot of money out for the food, and we just cooked it and served it. And people like John Merrill, who was at the time our Secretary of State, he came and he was at every one of them, and a lot of our other elected officials, mayors and state representatives, Tommy Haynes, he came to 2 or 3 of them, and some of them wasn't even in his district.
That's the point. I mean, because he had such a heart for what
Yes,
was happening.
I remember seeing the sweat on his shirt at one of those hot days. I remember him sweating
He came to
because
Albertville. That was not in his
no, that's right.
realm at all.
And I didn't know him before then, but boy, did I ever come to really appreciate that guy. I really did, and I won't ever forget those people that came and worked and helped us. And
Well,
what
Bonnie
a
even gave his card. It was in center. I wasn't in
Yeah,
that one.
that's
But
right.
everybody was talking about it. I missed that one. Larissa's sister, passed away.
Yes.
In North Carolina. And so they were running out of, they had a lot more people than they thought we could
Yeah.
be there. And so he actually gave his card to the local McDonald's down
Yeah,
there.
let people get whatever they want. And he said, I'll come down there and sign it just as soon as we wrap up. But we had fed, it was unreal, the people
It was
we
over
fed.
2,000 then.
Yeah. And then he gave each one of them a note and said, this is one of our, and so everybody that went down there, they didn't even have to get out of their car. They could just go through the drive-through and get what they wanted, and he went down there and swiped his card at the end of it because we just ran out of food.
That's the guy you want to buy the car.
That's right. I will never forget that. I mean, the heart. Bobby's not just a businessman; he's a Christian man. He's a man of faith, and that's why we bought a car from him. And I can tell you right now, if I was buying a used car tomorrow, I'd be right here looking for it right here. I won't forget those kind of people.
Now, he takes you serious, and I don't even get around. Because I joked around and said I wanted a pink tractor.
Yeah.
And he calls later, Miss Donna, I can't find a pink tractor anywhere.
Yeah.
He said, could we? And I started laughing. That's Bobby. I was joking around. This will be a tractor for my husband, Phil. Do you think he's going to drive a pink tractor?
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, be serious about what you're looking for. But now this is another thing I've noticed from him is he will listen to you. And the whole staff is trained to be that way. They will listen to you. It's not like this high pressure anything.
No, they're customer oriented. They are very customer oriented.
And it's great to be with a business like that,
That's right.
where you don't feel like somebody's going to try to upsell you because they want to do that. They work on your budget. And again, I wanted to mention this one more time before we close. We still have about 5 minutes left, but if you're credit challenged, they'll handle that, okay? And so don't worry about that. You'll still be able to drive off the vehicle.
Yes,
What are you looking for?
yes. We've had a lot of fun doing these things, and I hope we get to do something in the future. I think we'll do some more things. I hope
There's
it's not.
something upcoming. I don't know the details.
Yeah,
or anything.
we'll know that when we'll be part of it, and we sure want to be part of it because these guys have been so good. Some of these people have been incredibly good to us, and we formed a brotherhood, a servanthood is probably a better word for it, but in feeding all those people, it developed. When you start feeding 40,000 people, you'll make some friends, I've said this a lot of times. You don't know what it's like to hand people in a car line a grocery bag full of food, and they're living out of that car, and you can tell it when you hand them a bag of food. You don't know what that's like. That's why we carried some of the kids from Cornerstone Christian Academy in Rainsville, where my wife teaches and my young boys go to school. We had some of those kids over there, seeing what it's like to hand people food that don't have food, because that's an educational
And it
experience
was
that
a
you
lot
won't
of
get. Oh
food too,
yes,
because
it
we're
was.
looking at a big turkey breast, and then it was this huge can of corn, huge can of green beans, even an apple or pecan pie,
That's right. They
and
all.
those nice Hawaiian rolls, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
Those are the
they were
best rolls.
always good. I mean, it was a full meal for about 8 people. I think it was a full meal for about 8 people, and and sometimes we gave more than one car, because people said, "Man, we really need it." If they said we really need it, we
No
give.
questions were asked.
Yeah, we just give it to them. We just and I think we all got really a blessing out of that. I know that I did, but probably that the day that those kids were there, I saw them. I said, "Man, every kid needs to do this." That if they, I hear my boys still talk about it. They still talk about it. If something comes up that we're talking about food or something, they'll still, man, they're 14 and 16, and they got lots of other things on their mind right now. But I'm telling you that they won't ever forget that.
Well, another thing I thought about that too. I know what it's like to be young and have no work experience whatsoever. What are you going to put on your resume?
Yeah, yeah,
That would be an awesome thing to put on your
yeah,
resume,
yeah,
because companies now are looking for people who want to work within the community.
yeah. I probably said it in a certain. I know I did. I said, we've had kids that done more ministry than some adults will ever do in their lifetime, and it was all from that one experience right there. And what a blessing to watch that happen.
Plus, the ministries are coming off of the ministry that was started through Bobby Ledbetter with
That's
those
right.
that he used to
That's
lead.
right.
Who would have thought that? I mean, so you just never know what you do and what you trigger and what you decide you want to do to the community that
That's
can turn
right.
out to be just an awesome
That's
thing.
right.
I wanted to mention this just for a few minutes, a couple of minutes. We have about 2 minutes left in this segment. There are people who are interested in starting churches, and there are people who really don't have a degree or anything like that to be a minister, but now there are trainings.
Yeah, the American Fellowship of Cowboy Churches offers through us a ministry certificate development program that is through a Bible college, and it has Bible teachers, men who have their doctorates degrees, and then we fall back on other people at times when we can. We've used Aaron Johnson, who has got like 3 degrees, doctorates in theology, and but there's all kinds of ways that we can help those guys, and but the number one thing is to come to a clinic and see what it's all about. Then when you learn our church model, because we don't do church exactly like every. The business side of our church is done really very simply. It's either by consensus or we just don't do it, and we're not going to bicker about it. We just say we'll pray till we all agree, and that'll be the end of it. And we've had some things like that. Uh, Even in our church, we want to build a new arena, and we had part of the money, but we didn't have all the money. We decided we wouldn't go in debt for it. So we also had 2 different locations on our property that we could build it, and it took us a while to come together on which location. But we didn't spend time fussing and arguing about it. Nobody was mad at anybody about it. We got together and prayed about it, and I think we're good with the location on the property now. But we're still waiting, and when the right time, the Lord will make it. We're not going to bury the church in debt to do it, because we're too near being totally out of debt. I mean, we're really close to being completely out of debt. So we're not going to go
And I'm
back.
glad to see you guys operate that way.
Yes,
That's what drew us.
yes.
Absolutely. Philip, we're going to have to call it a day.
Well, it's been a
always
good
such a
one.
quick hour. Always. But thank you always for being with me.
My pleasure.
And thank you for being such a good friend to Phil and me.
Well, I
We
appreciate
definitely
that.
appreciate that. And thank you for watching. Continue sending emails. You don't know that makes my day. When I get an email from you, it's amazing. Send an email to Donna at donnasedge.com. And thank you again so much for watching. I appreciate it.